Hey everybody, Chris Maricos here, and in this video I'm going to be telling you about the sunken cost fallacy and why it's never too late to start doing something new. And that doesn't only mean things that are completely new, it might just mean doing things differently, doing things in a different way or in a new way. It also means that it's never too late to stop doing things the old way or to stop doing something altogether. So in this video, we're going to look at exactly how you can approach that and why it makes sense. You know, it doesn't really make sense to hold on to things that aren't working. And it doesn't make sense to just do things because we've always done them like that. That doesn't make sense. We shouldn't be doing that. And it actually hurts us when we hold on to things that aren't good for us, but we just do them because, you know, it's just a habit. We've done them for so long. When we think of something like that, when we think that that's the right thing to do, just, you know, we've been doing it for so long, so we have to keep doing it, that's wrong. And so that's what we're going to be talking about in this video today. Now, first of all, let's look at a few situations when we might see this thing called the sunken cost fallacy. It's not only about costs as far as money, it's not only about monetary costs, but it's also about time costs. So this is something really important, and a lot of people waste a lot of their time in their lives just trying to do the same thing over and over again to make it work. And if something doesn't work, maybe we need to move on to the next thing. So one of the situations where we can see this in action is with jobs. A lot of times someone might find a job or be doing a job that maybe they don't like, maybe they feel like they're not good at, maybe they're not progressing as much as they'd like to. And in this situation, you know, we have to try to ask ourselves, when is enough enough? When is it time for us to move on? When is it time for us to say, well, maybe this just isn't for me? And so we can see the sunken cost fallacy happening here, that sometimes people say, well, I've invested so much time. I've been doing this job for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years maybe. And so that means that I should keep doing it. Well, if it's taken that long and you haven't seen the results that you wanted to get from having that job, if you haven't become the kind of person that you wanted to become because of the job or in the job that you're doing, then maybe it's time to move on. And so the sunken cost fallacy really shows us that when someone has been doing something for a very long time, like a job, they might think that they don't have a choice, that they've made a huge investment and that they're going to reap the benefits of that investment eventually. So they stick with it and they feel like, you know, that 5 years or 10 years that they've been in that job, that it's an investment into their future and that they're going to see the benefits, that they're actually going to see the profit of all of those years that they've invested if they just stay a little longer. And then a little longer turns into another 5 or 10 years. So this is one example of the sunken cost fallacy. And it's a fallacy because it's the wrong way of thinking. It's illogical. It's a logical fallacy, actually. So anyone who's studied logic before has probably come into contact with this thing before. So basically, it's not evaluating our investment correctly. Just because we've put a lot of time or money into something, it doesn't mean that we're definitely going to see a return on that investment. Sometimes we need to move on. So another example of this is having a business that maybe isn't making any money, or a business that isn't turning a profit, or it's taking a very long time to do so. So here we can see a very direct example of the sunken cost fallacy, because if we stay in this business, then it might keep losing money. It might never become profitable. So we can see this happening with people who they've been in a business for maybe a few years, or maybe they've made a huge initial investment into the business. And now they think that, well, if I just stick it out a little longer, I'll see a return on my investment. And that's not always true. So just because we've put a lot of time and effort into this, we might not be doing it the right way, or there might not be an audience, the right audience for this, or there might not be demand for what we're selling So there could be any number of problems with this business, and just because we have invested so much time, energy, or money into it, it doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to see a return. So a great example of this is when someone has made a huge initial investment. Maybe they've invested, $100,000 or more, and just to get the business started, and then the business starts, and then the second month they have to make another large investment, third month another large investment. Now they're in the hole $200,000, $300,000, and they're waiting for the business to become profitable, or at least to hit zero and to not require any more investment. So a person might actually see that some things are not right with this business, that there's no demand, that something is going wrong, and that this business is not going to make money. But they might keep doing it. They might keep investing money into the business because they think, well, if I invest enough, if I put enough money into this, then eventually it will have to become profitable. And that is a fallacy. That's why it's called the sunken cost fallacy. They sink more and more costs into this business, and they think eventually it will work out, but there's no guarantee that it will. So another example of this is when we need to start something new, or we have the ability or the opportunity to start something new. Some people are very afraid of starting something new. And this I'm including in this video about the sunken cost fallacy because it prevents a lot of people from starting something new. People who want to go in a new direction in their career, people who want to go in a new direction in their personal life. They might have sunk in so many expenses, so much time, effort, money into things that they have right now that new things might seem very unrealistic or scary. So they might think that it doesn't make sense to start something new because I need to keep investing in the things that I have. Well, if those things aren't working, why do we keep investing in them? We need to draw the line. We need to understand when to get out. And that's not only about business, and it's not only about our career, it's also about personal relationships. So relationships is another area where we can see the sunken cost fallacy. A lot of people say, well, I've been friends with this person for 5 years, 10 years. And they think that makes it okay for if bad things happen, that we excuse those things, or that we should overlook negative qualities because of a time investment. Well, people change, and people change for the better, and people change for the worse. So we need to be able to identify those things and view them and evaluate them objectively. And the sunken cost fallacy, where we believe that because we've invested so much time or energy into a personal relationship, can get in the way, can make us feel like we should wait longer, we should invest more time, and we should see how it's going to go, even if we know in our hearts and we know deep inside that this is not right, or that this is not where we want to be. So these are a lot of different examples of how we can see the sunken cost fallacy in action. And the last one that I want to talk about is a very, very clear example of this, which is monetary investments, not only in starting a business or in maintaining a business, but also in other kinds of investments. For example, real estate or the stock market. So some people might make a large investment into a company and then, for example, buying stocks in the company, and then think, well, eventually it's going to become profitable. Eventually, the price of the stock will go up. The value of the stock will go up. But that's not always the case, and that's not always true. So some people, as the price goes down and keeps going down and keeps going down, they'll just keep investing more and more and more into this company and say, well, if I invest enough, then eventually I'm going to see a return on my investment. And that's not true. That's a great example of the sunken cost fallacy. So how can we protect ourselves against this? Well, first of all, we need to, like I said, evaluate things objectively. And in order to evaluate things objectively, we need to not only measure how much we've invested and how important something becomes to us over time and as our expenses go up in relation to this thing, but also we need to evaluate its objective value to the market, its objective value to people outside of us. If we only base it on us and some kind of emotional attachment that we have to this thing, for example, the fact that we've invested a lot of time or money into it, then we're not going to be able to look at it completely objectively. So what we want to do is we want to, first of all, one great way to do this is to ask other people's opinions. So we can't always trust what we think and what we believe and what we feel. We need to always be getting the opinions of other people. That's the only way to be objective. We only have one viewpoint. So if we take the view that this company is definitely going to become profitable, or if we take the viewpoint that this person is definitely going to change for the better, or if we take the viewpoint that this job is definitely going to give me what I want eventually, or different things like that, then we might be waiting for a very, very long time, and we might not ever see a return on our investment. So that's why we need to always be thinking, and we need to be aware of this sunken cost fallacy and the tendency of us as humans to fall for this trap and to find ourselves in the position where we believe that because we've already invested a lot of time, money, or energy into something, that eventually it's going to work out. So we need to take a more realistic approach, more realistic view, and be as objective as possible, which means looking for sources of information outside of ourselves to evaluate and reevaluate this situation. So that's it for this video, and I hope you guys found it useful. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button, leave a comment down below, and I will see you in the next one.